All right, the regular meeting of Lakewood City Council for July 17th, 2023 is hereby called to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We will now pause for a moment of silence. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. When you're ready. No rush.
All right, Baker.
Here.
Bullock.
Here.
Keppel.
Here.
Litton.
Here.
Marks. Rader.
Yep.
Shackner.
Here.
Reading and disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting of council held July 3rd, 2023.
Move to dispose without the necessity of a reading.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. And with that, I'd like to move items 8 and 9 regarding our parade to the top of the agenda.
Item 8, communication from Mayor George regarding 2023 Grand Marshal for July 4th Parade.
Mayor George.
Thank you. Good evening, members of council. This evening, I invite members of council to join me in recognizing Beck Center for the Arts as the 2023 July 4th Parade Grand Marshal. Lakewood is proud to recognize the Beck Center for the Arts, and we would like to take this opportunity to thank them for creating art experiences in our community for 90 years. In addition, I would like to recognize the following parade winners: Best Color Guard, Lakewood's own Fire Department Honor Guard; Best Float, Birthday in the Box; Most Original Entry, Ghostbusters Cleveland; Best Cycle, Slife Heating and Cooling; Most Spirited, Lakewood Ranger Marching Band. Following our presentation to the Beck Center for the Arts, I invite representatives of the winning parade entrants to come forward to receive their plaque and be recognized by the members of Lakewood City Council.
Move to receive and file that communication.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? And upon passage here, we will go forward with the awards.
Yeah, I can name one by one, and we can give them the plaque and do a picture.
Do a picture, yeah.
Okay.
But let's dispose of this first. And any discussion, colleagues?
Mr.
Councilman Bullock.
Yeah, thank you. It was excellent awards because the spirit and the tradition and the creativity is, makes Lakewood 4th of July Parade great, and these are great recipients. Also, thank the Beck Center and put in a plug. My wife and I just saw a great play there Friday night, Once on the Island, so everybody should go see it. They continue to have a strong artistic lineup. It was really delightful. So congrats to all.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes, and we'll move on to our awards, Mayor, and take some pictures.
Okay. Up first is Lakewood Fire Department Honor Guard.
And I think these guys are on duty, so let's take a quick picture and get them out of here.
He's our photographer. Oh, okay.
All right, next up is Best Float Birthday in the Box. Thank you. Well, the Ghostbusters one fell. Huh. Most original entry, the Ghostbusters Cleveland. Congrats.
Yes. Killing it, Claudia, killing it.
Hopefully it's not that loud.
It's okay. Yeah, actually.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Very nice. Next up, Best Cycle, Slife Heating and Cooling.
We got to see whose pictures.
Next year, we should get a plaque. Best photos. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Nice.
Gotta get on. Hold on. Oh, first in your head. Fully, yeah. There you got to be fully in it. Awesome.
Good job, Dave. Good job, Dave.
Next up is Most Spirited, the Lakewood Ranger Marching Band.
Take over John's phone really quick. I'll go grab it. We gotta get it signed. And don't break your footband, yeah? Getting as close as everybody say, Rangers!
And then congratulations to our Grand Marshal, the Beck Center for the Arts, for 90 years. That's pretty incredible, delivering art to our community. So come on up, Cindy.
Let's do a picture. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I want
You don't trust Peter?
All right. Well, as we await Assistant Clerk Hamida's return, we'll just proceed with our docket. Item 9, Resolution 2023-38, a resolution to thank the Beck Center for the Arts for participating in the 2023 Grand Marshal in the City of Lakewood 4th of July Parade. Move to adopt.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. Item 1, report from Housing Planning and Development Committee held July 17th tonight, 2023. Chairman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Housing Planning and Development Committee met just prior to tonight's meeting, and we had a discussion of the scooter micromobility pilot program with members of the administration and with one comment from a member of the public, and also a impromptu visit from the county government sustainability director, who had a hand in creating the program that we participated in. It was a good discussion, simply a opportunity to delve into more of the details that we understood, what worked well, what didn't work well in the first pilot. The administration shared that the program's currently suspended. It could be restarted if solutions are identified for some of the problems that we encounter, which include near misses, properly docking and parking the scooters after a trip, and customer service ease or the lack thereof from the companies to resolve problems. So, there are, good discussion in a number of different directions, and I think it's accurate to say that City Council expressed support for many aspects of the program, blended with some concern about the operational experience. So it was a good analysis and discussion to be continued in the future. Move to receive and file that oral report.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Item 2.
Item 2, report from Committee of the Whole meeting held July 17th, 2023.
Vice President Keppel, if you don't mind running point.
I do not mind. The Committee of the Whole met earlier this evening at 6 o'clock to discuss Resolution 2023-37 to allocate funds for the Lakewood Chamber of Commerce for the purpose of supporting Lakewood small business community. We had a conversation regarding the amended chamber proposal, which included 3 main areas of focus, predominantly a strategic planning process to identify the areas of need of Lakewood businesses in a post-COVID economic environment. The second component was technology, which included 3 pieces, one of which was Chamber Master software, which is specific to chambers and would update the ability to track membership, update events, and a variety of other functionality. That technology piece also includes some web design and development that we deferred to discuss later once the strategic plan is completed and we'd have that data. And then the third component was regarding entrepreneurs and small business development, including scholarships for small businesses who might be interested in joining the chamber. So we had a good conversation with Lauren Small, who's the executive director of the chamber, and got some more information. We voted to recommend for adoption Resolution 2023-37 with the amount of $70,000 added into the placeholder of that resolution, with $10,000 coming from Councilman Litton's segment of those ARPA funds and $15,000 from Councilman Baker, Bullock, Keppel, and Marks. Move to receive and file that oral report.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Very thorough, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 3, Resolution 2023-37, a resolution to take effect immediately authorizing the mayor and/or director of finance or director of law to allocate and expend blank of American Rescue Act funds to the Lakewood Chamber of Commerce to facilitate small business supports.
Move to insert $70,000 into the blank.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, let's do a roll call on that.
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel?
Yes.
Litton?
Yes.
Marks? Yes. Rader? Shackner?
Yes.
Move to substitute.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel?
Yes.
Litton?
Yes.
Marks?
Yes.
Rader?
Yes.
Shackner?
Yep.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Bullock.
thank you for the facilitation of this ordinance. Thanks to the Vice President for leading the way on facilitating an investment in our Lakewood Chamber partner. Thanks to the Lakewood Chamber for being here and continuing to work with and through us on this, or work through the process with us on this ARPA allocation funding. I'm optimistic that, we're going to do a first round here, and then we'll talk again in the reasonably near future about a potential additional round in the near future. So thanks to the Chamber leadership for being a leader on economic development and business recovery for our community.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Vice President Keppel.
Thank you. Thank you, Chamber, for being here, and I am truly very excited about the strategic plan and looking forward to seeing that conversation happening in our small business community about ways to support our small businesses in this new environment. And we've had a lot of great conversations about moving forward with supporting home-based businesses, with finding synergies with other local nonprofits and working in the small business field. So I'm very excited about the strategic plan process, and I can't wait to hear what you find out as you survey the community, and look forward to having that conversation with you again.
Thank you. Any further discussion? On the motion to adopt, Madam Clerk.
Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Keppel?
Yes.
Litton?
Yes.
Marks?
Yes.
Rader?
Yes.
Shackner?
Yes.
And that motion finally passes.
Item 4, communication from Councilmember Bullock regarding affordable housing scenario planning report.
Councilman Bullock.
Thanks, Mr. President. Dear members of council, dear colleagues, and administration. Over the past decade, affordable housing in Lakewood has become increasingly elusive for a growing number of families and individuals. The availability of subsidized units has decreased, property valuations have increased, and demand is at or near an all-time high. In response to these trends, City Council's Housing Planning and Development Committee convened a series of meetings in the summer of 2022 to discuss barriers to housing affordability and potential solutions. Following up on those meetings, the Planning and Development Department partnered with the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy and the Greater Ohio Policy Center to participate in a novel planning exercise around affordable housing. The purpose of the exercise was to answer the following question: how do we ensure affordable housing for all Lakewood residents now and in the future? The months-long effort culminated in a report with data that distills the breadth of the problem, a vision for housing affordability moving forward, and a series of recommendations along with a timeline for implementation. To better understand the report and its implications, which City Council has received in a communication, in an email communication from the administration, but I don't think we've previously discussed it in a public meeting. I therefore invite the Planning Department and partners to participate in an upcoming meeting of the Housing Planning and Development Committee to further examine the report's findings and the process through which it was developed, and also to facilitate the continued interest by council members and the public to find solutions to affordability and the cost of housing. Move to refer to the Housing Planning and Development Committee this written communication. Sincerely.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 5, communication from Councilmember Baker and Mayor George regarding municipal swimming pool operations, discussion following Foster Pool renovation.
Mayor or Councilman?
Dear colleagues, over the past few years, the city embarked on an ambitious planning and capital improvement process to take in public input and ultimately design and construct the new and improved Foster Pool at Lakewood Park. It had been nearly 40 years since Foster Pool had seen such a renovation. The city invested over $4.5 million in the project and opened up a newly renovated Foster Pool to much fanfare, on time and on budget, on June 8, 2023. In February 2023, anticipation of the excitement, increased attendance, and attention due to the significant capital investment, the city initiated discussions and legislation regarding municipal swimming pools and invited the Lakewood City School Board of Education to public meetings to discuss admission rates and aquatic operations. The city and Board of Education have a unique relationship for operating the outdoor municipal pools. The city maintains the structures, water, chemicals, filters, and pumps, while the Board of Education maintains the staff of lifeguards and the daily operations of the pools, such as the cleaning the facilities, scheduling programs, and monitoring the water. Moreover, the city reimburses the Board of Education for all financial obligations beyond what is taken in from the pool fees. City personnel routinely met with the Board of Education personnel to discuss the municipal swimming pools and athletic fields. The purpose of these meetings are to ensure open lines of communication and to provide both operational and public feedback to all entities. Additionally, City Council had a series of public meetings with the Board of Education to discuss the municipal pools. On February 27th and March 6, 2023, the Public Works and Sustainability Committee discussed municipal pool rates and general operations with members of the city's Public Works Department and representatives from the Board of Education, namely the Recreation Department, the department that operates the pools on behalf of the Board of Education. Discussions included municipal pool rates, increased costs of operations due to wages, chemicals and utilities, group permitting processes, signage, checking identification for proof of residency in line with the rate structure, and potential new software for passes admissions. The meeting minutes indicated that the Recreation Department was planning and preparing for the large surge in pool use at Foster Pool for the upcoming season. At the March 6, 2023 City Council meeting, City Council unanimously passed the resolution establishing rates of admission to Lakewood municipal swimming pools. The new rates of admission went into effect the start of the 2023 outdoor swimming pool season, which is currently underway. Now that Foster Pool has been open to the public for over a month, City Council administration would like to invite representatives from the Recreation Department and or the Board of Education to a City Council committee meeting to discuss how it has gone so far, ways in which it can be improved, and celebrate successes. Having a well-run, efficiently managed, clean and safe set of municipal pools will help keep Lakewood an attractive community for people of all ages, backgrounds, and abilities. Members of the public have expressed some concerns about the pool operations and crowds, some of which is to be expected with the newly renovated and popular facility, others of which need to be addressed. The city is committed to working on solutions to make sure that the entire community can be proud of the municipal pools, and the aim of this communication is to initiate a conversation about the model of operations of the pools while the season is fresh in our minds, to ensure the city and the Board of Education are working collaboratively to take in public feedback and make sure that the 2024 municipal pool season is a success. We look forward to working with the Board of Education on this issue, and we ask that this communication be referred to the Public Works and Sustainability Committee for further discussion.
Move to refer to Public Works and Sustainability Committee.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? I think that, the pools have been a focal point. I still applaud the fact that we were able to get them open on time and everything like that this year. Anything new like this is going to come with its challenges and nuances and adjustments and all those sorts of things. I want to be cognizant of our timing as a council in this, and that in referring this to committee, that committee probably or possibly would not meet prior to the end of this summer season anyway. And so at the time the committee does meet, it would be able to really take in kind of a full summer and consider all that went into it. But at any rate, any further discussion?
Did you have? From a scheduling standpoint, Mr. President, I think we just got to get with the school board. So whether it happens in July or September, probably more likely September, but have to work with administration on that point.
Yeah, I guess I would advise September, just because why not take in a whole season and adjust from there?
Sounds good.
Understanding it is an important issue to people, but it is a seasonal operation, and it's tough to change in mid-course. Go ahead.
This might be a little bit into the weeds, but have we addressed the Wi-Fi issue at the Foster Pool? I know they were down this week. I went to the pool this week. It's kind of a mess because the Wi-Fi was down and people were being turned away because they couldn't pay with a credit card. Anyway, maybe we can put that on the agenda to look at. But other than that, happy to have this
Yeah,
conversation.
I have not heard any of that, so.
Okay. Is that a schools thing? I can take it up with the schools directly if that's the case.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, all right. No problem. And thank you, Councilman Kyle Baker. I've heard similar issues that I think are just growing pains, but for the most part, it's a fabulous facility. Staff is wonderful, and they're all working very hard, and it was fully staffed when I went there, and it was a lot of fun. So looking forward to making sure we get this right for next season, too. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Bullock?
Thanks, Mr. President. Thanks to the mayor and Councilman Baker for bringing this forward. Couple thoughts. First, I guess I'm advocating that we meet as soon as possible. I think there are some changes that might be for next season, but some, such as just management of the existing personnel that are there, that could be done on a quick turnaround basis. With seasonal workers, you've got adults supervising non-adults, and we could ask for and expect that the adult management make any needed changes even now while the pool season is going. Secondly, just a broad perspective is, we talked about this 2 years ago now, when there was some good work done by the city and the schools together on addressing baseball field deferred maintenance. And, at the time we said, this is the challenge of having the shared jurisdiction responsibility, where the analogy I made was that you've got two outfielders catching a fly ball, both think the other one has it, and it drops in between the two and nobody gets it done. That may not be, we need a swimming analogy for that, because we were talking about baseball at the time. But point is that it doesn't surprise me that we still have our work to do to continue working through the coordination needs, and the pools are a different piece of that operation. So that's a long way of saying I'm glad that we're looking into it, and I think it's even if it's a little bit of a uncomfortable conversation, I think it's needed. So I welcome it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilman Schachner and then Councilwoman Marks.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Councilman Baker and the mayor, for bringing this communication forth for a future discussion. One question I would like to have answered at least by, or at least the answer available by this committee meeting, and I hate to give Director Vargo more homework, but it is unclear to me, like, the amount of authority council has on pool policy in terms of how it's managed, the hours of it, when certain times are for certain versus if that's in the full purview of the schools, and we can't really don't have authority to touch that. So I'd be interested in what law's analysis is of council's authority in terms of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Marks.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Baker, and for Mayor George for bringing this forward. I've had a lot of communication from residents about this issue specifically. And since I live closer to Madison Pool is empty. So I think we need to consider discount pool passes for Madison to bring down some of the occupancy at Foster. So just a thought.
Well, my daughter is a proud lifeguard at Beck's Pool at Madison Park and loves her job and loves the quantity of swimmers they're getting currently also. Any further discussion?
Just one more thing, Mr. President.
Councilman Baker.
Yeah, this is, you know, the intent of this conversation is to increase the output for our residents. I mean, this is a family retention issue for our community, and if there's one thing that the school board and the city, you know, are super aligned on, it's like increasing enrollment in the schools, keeping young families here, and I think this is part of that. So really look forward to the discussion, and I think we're going to get there.
Likewise, and I think the analogy is synchronized swimming between the two. Okay. Very good. Any further discussion or dad jokes? Okay. Hearing none on the motion to refer. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 6, communication from Councilmember Baker regarding traffic guards.
Councilman Baker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, Lakewood City Schools is unique in that it does not operate a school bus system to provide transportation to bring students to school because it has neighborhood schools where most elementary and middle school students live within walking or biking distance to their respective school. It has been called a walking district. Moreover, Lakewood has many private schools that students walk or bike to each school day. In line with that unique setup, history, and culture, the city provides traffic guards at designated street crossings across Lakewood to ensure the safety of students as they walk or bike to school. This requires collaboration between the Lakewood City Police Department and Lakewood City Schools to ensure student safety. As of today, there are 29 traffic guard locations and 6 substitute traffic guards that fill in for any daily vacancy. The Lakewood Codified Ordinances currently limit the amount of traffic guards to 35. See Lakewood Codified Ordinances, Section 135.05A. I'd like to initiate a conversation about the location of traffic guards in the city and explore whether or not it makes sense to allow more due to current school boundaries, certain difficult intersections, and current conditions. The proposed ordinance accompanying this communication requests that the maximum number of traffic guards be increased to 38, but that is merely a suggestion to get the conversation started. I'd like the conversation to particularly consider the students that live on the outer reaches of any given elementary or middle school district to find ways to ensure that they can still walk or bike safely to school without having to add more distance to their commute. I look forward to working with the Administration, Public Works, Planning, and the Lakewood Police Department on this issue. And I ask that this communication and an accompanying proposed ordinance be referred to the Public Safety Committee for further discussion and consideration.
I'll move to refer to public safety.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? I know as a ward council person, this is something that I've had come to my attention from time to time, just about crossing guards in general. I note that the discussion is about increasing the ceiling, but not necessarily mandating a number, or, you know, an actual number or anything along that line. I again note that this is a committee that probably would not meet until after the break. And what was I going to say? Additionally, I believe, and perhaps Mayor George can add some context to this, there is some kind of city stakeholder group or what have you looking at issues like this in general, and I just want to make sure that and council's work kind of work hand in hand wherever possible.
Yeah, thank you. As you know, Council, we're in the midst of our active transportation plan and safe routes to school. So part of that analysis is looking at intersections, crossing guards, using the best use of our resources at these intersections. So we probably want to have this discussion after we have that plan finalized. And I can defer to Director Leininger on where we're at with that timing. But that is part of this planning process, is looking at our intersections and ensuring safe routes to school for our children.
And I mean, you know, I think council, thank you, Mayor. I think council could meet to discuss this ceiling on some level, but I also would like to know, I guess, from your perspective, when you think such a work product might be ready for our discussion.
Good evening, Council President Litton, members of
Director
council.
Leininger.
So the active transportation plan is currently starting to get into its final stages. We expect the final plan to be complete in September. Perhaps it could trickle into October, but we're starting to receive some of those initial recommendations coming out of all the work that's been done over the past few months coming in now. So we're on the road to finishing this. Looks like it'll be early fall.
Okay, okay. And I know we're referring this to committee and it'll get discussed, but I'm just curious, Councilman Baker, why 38?
I mentioned that in the communication that I'm not tied to that number. And in fact, I would, but in the realm of not wanting to publicly or privately discuss things with my fellow colleagues to break Open Meetings Act, I would be okay with taking away a maximum or perhaps putting in a minimum. But that's just something I think we could discuss. And so that's, 35 seemed odd to me. But it's also, I'm not aware of any other part of the Lakewood codified ordinances that stipulates a certain member capped of employees. So open to discussion on that point.
Understood. I also understand, and I'm looking at our new chief a little bit here. This is traditionally one of our more difficult roles to fill as a city. Is that accurate? Okay, okay. Odd hours and all of that, of course. Okay. Any further discussion? Sorry, I went deeply into the weeds right off the rip.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Councilman Bullock.
I don't recall this being brought up before, so I'm appreciative of this curious provision of capping at a specific number traffic guards. There may have been a reason, I'm unaware why, that a previous council got that specific, but it seems odd to me that we would have an arbitrary limit and not have it driven by need, and what would drive need in particular would be, school patterns and other evolving transportation patterns. Those have probably remained fairly stable over the years, but whoever came up with the number in the ordinance counted to 35, it certainly hasn't been updated recently. So from just a legislating perspective, having a set and unchanging limit seems not the right approach. So I certainly welcome this discussion. And, the school year is going to start earlier than the anticipated active transportation plan report. Arguably, we should be trying to get as close to the beginning of the school year as possible. I recognize that there's planning that needs to be done and there's staffing realities, but nevertheless, let's start from the need. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilman Baker, excuse me.
Yeah, and that's, so I understand the active transportation plan. I'm actually council's rep on that, and a lot of good work's going on. I do see this as separate. This amount could be lifted in anticipation of that. And also, I do know that, school is starting soon. So that's where I want to give the administration as much flexibility as possible to be nimble, prior to this plan coming out. So that's why I introduced it now.
Understood. Understood. Thank you. Vice President Keppel, did you have a comment?
Well, just to that point, I guess, and lifting I think the ordinance lifts the restriction, and I think there's something else about injury or something, but it basically, if we just removed, well, we'll get into this in committee, but if we just remove the number, then we're essentially making it ready for the active transportation plan to tell us the number, right? So it seems just like doing a little homework in advance of school starting, which looks like August 25th, maybe, for all students. So we'll be talking about this a lot.
Understood. Thank you. Any further discussion? We do have one individual signed up for public comment on this topic, and I'd like to call that person up, Emily Lindberg. Please state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Emily Lindberg. What else do you need? My address or something? 1651 Lauderdale Avenue. I just wanted to thank Councilman Baker for bringing this up. This is an issue that's near and dear to my heart. Being nearly to Madison on Lauderdale, we're at the very corner of our Horseman Elementary District. We do have 2 other elementary schools closer to our home than our home school. So, yeah, so my soon-to-be 5th grader does cross at Larchmont, Granger, Detroit intersection with no crossing guard. We've never had a crossing guard at that intersection. If we were to go down to Webb and Detroit, there is no crossing guard there. So there is not one crossing guard, and we're also crossing the train tracks. So, yeah, it's definitely been an issue, especially since our family bikes to school every day. And, you know, it's been brought up that this is a walking district, and unfortunately at Horseman, we are not a walking school. I see just most of the families are driving, and when I brought this up with this lack of crossing guard situation with the officer involved in scheduling the crossing guards, you know, they were like, well, we're going to put an officer there to count how many people are crossing. And I was like, no, because there's nobody crossing because everybody's too afraid to send their kids on this route. So it's like a chicken and the egg situation here where you want to see how many people are already crossing, but there's been this wide open, dangerous intersection for years and years and years that have never had a crossing guard. So no one's going to send their kid on, like, except me, I guess. Yeah, and so I have a rising 2nd grader also, and I'd like to send her to school, but I would like to have a little more security that she's going to arrive there in one piece. And everybody deserves that. Yeah, and I am on the Active Transportation Committee, Steering Committee, which is very exciting, and we're doing some exciting things there, but yeah, I do want City Council to be aware that we could do better with getting our families to not drive to school. And part of that, this doesn't really have to do with crossing guards, just disincentivizing driving. Like, you put a car lane in, people are going to drive their cars, and not walk. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, any further discussion? Councilman Schachtner.
Thank you very much. That public comment kind of reminded me of a quote that I think has been attributed to Mark Twain, that there's lies, damned lies, and then statistics. And sometimes, you know, our data-driven process, and this is not a slight against anybody, but we could over-data ourselves into bad results without context. And thank you for providing that context, and hopefully we can get this issue resolved in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Any further discussion? Councilman Rader.
I just want to echo and my council colleagues' thoughts. Yeah, you can be reactive and proactive. I think as a walking city, we could be more proactive here. Thank you, Councilman Baker. It's something that has come up to me too. I live next door to a crossing guard who always talks about the need for more crossing guards all over the city. So this is something that I'm really glad this administration is looking into with this active transportation study, and certainly something that has implications even in, as Emily mentioned, you know, even environmental reasons and other reasons we want to encourage more walkability over and above safety, which is the primary concern. So thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Administration, have anything to add? Sorry, I have to work on my AV skills as well. Let's see. All right, hearing no further discussion on the motion to refer, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 7, Ordinance 17, 2023, an ordinance amending Section 13505, Traffic Guards of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Lakewood for the purpose of allowing the mayor, as Director of Public Safety, to hire more traffic guards.
Move to refer to Public Safety Committee.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 10, communication from Finance Director Rankator regarding third quarter transfers.
Director Rankator. It's been a while.
President Litton, members of council, the 2023 third quarter transfer ordinance reflects 25% of the total anticipated transfers between funds that were included in the 2023 appropriations. We ask that you refer this to Finance Committee for further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Move to receive and file that communication.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 11, Ordinance 16, 2023, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing the transfer and advance of certain funds.
Move to refer to Finance Committee.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 12, communication from Human Services Director Barry regarding application to the NOACA 5310 Enhanced Mobility for Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities.
Director Barry.
Thank you, President Litton, members of council. I'm submitting a resolution authorizing the application for the acceptance of financial assistance for the NOACA 5310 Enhanced Mobility for Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities grant program for assistance purchasing a replacement senior van. The Enhanced Mobility for Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities program provides capital grants to assist governments, transit agencies, and other transportation providers who offer coordinated transportation services that are planned, designed, and carried out to meet the needs of seniors and individuals with disabilities in the Cleveland urbanized area. The city is requesting NOACA 5310 funds to purchase a replacement light transit vehicle for senior transportation within the 44107 zip code. The project is needed to update the Division of Aging's fleet and enable the division to continue providing reliable transportation services to aid older adults in increasing their independence, reducing isolation, and allowing them to increase their access to wellness and social opportunities. The deadline to submit a resolution of support is September 1st, 2023. Therefore, I respectfully request approval of this resolution on first reading. I'm happy to answer any questions about senior transportation in Lakewood or the grant application.
Thank you. Move to receive and file that communication.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Vice President Keppel.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Barry, for seeking these funds again. I noticed that the program is seniors and individuals with disabilities, but we were talking about a senior van. So does that mean that this van is used exclusively for seniors, or it would also be able to be used for individuals with disabilities who are not seniors?
Thank you for the question. The van would be primarily used for senior transportation, but definitely could be utilized for transportation of folks 18 to 59 with disabilities. We are trying to expand that area, and we are definitely looking for, there's a lot of various vehicles that we could look for in this program, so we are going to try to find one that's capable, certainly handicap accessible, but it might be a little bit smaller. We might use a little bit different process than we have in the past. Typically, we've gone out for 18-passenger vehicles. But we might do something a little bit different this year. But yes, we could use it for both, but it'll primarily be used by the Division of Aging.
Please.
Thank you. I know this has been an ongoing conversation about looking for ways to increase transportation for folks with disabilities. And I noticed in the ordinance that it would include 20% local matching funds and with 50% for local matching funds for operating projects from sources. So I believe in the past, one of the reasons we couldn't use the van for folks with disabilities who weren't seniors was because of the funding source. So do we anticipate that that any other funding sources would prevent this vehicle from being used for folks with disabilities?
I don't anticipate that being the case with this funding. It should allow us to transport folks with disabilities 18 to 59 and also seniors.
Awesome.
And it would be a 20% match, and then NOACA picks up the rest.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I know this has been an ongoing project, so I appreciate the follow-through.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Councilman Rader.
Thank you, Mr. President. You probably know the question that's coming, but I have to ask. And I think it is important because we have our climate action plan in full effect. And are there options for high-efficiency vehicles, hybrids, electric vehicles? Is NOACA helping, I guess, with moving that direction? I know they also have their own climate action plan, which calls for clean fleets. If I remember correctly, I helped them on the energy portion of their plan, too. So any thoughts?
Yes, certainly. We definitely can do our due diligence and research what vehicles might be available that would fit that criteria. Certainly, we want to find something that will provide the greatest amount of service and efficiency for what we're doing. But we will do our due diligence, and Public Works and James Holman has been really instrumental in helping us identify vehicles for this, so we can take a look at the coach builders and the various vehicles available.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, colleagues? Hearing none on the motion to receive and file, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 13, Resolution 2023-39, a resolution to take effect immediately authorizing the mayor or her designee to apply for a grant through the Northeast Area-Wide Coordinating Agency for the purchase of a new van through the Mobility for Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities Program.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 14, communication from Fire Chief Dunphy regarding acceptance of funds from Community West Foundation.
Chief Dunphy.
Dear members of council, pursuant to Lakewood Codified Ordinance 11114B, I am ready to inform you that the Lakewood Fire Department has received a grant award from the Community West Foundation in the amount of $15,410.37. This grant award will support the community CPR and AED education and training program. The grant does not require any matching funds from the city. Sincerely, Timothy P. Dunphy.
Thank you, Chief. Move to receive and file that communication.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Just want to acknowledge the generosity of the Community West Foundation. They're so good to cities and nonprofit organizations throughout the area, and a great example, like we have now in Lakewood, of a former hospital being turned around into a funding source for the community. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 15, liquor permit notice, C&S Lakewood LLC, 15322 Detroit Ave.
As is our custom, we'll defer to the ward in which the permitted organization resides, and I believe that's Ward 2. Councilman Schachner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no statutory reason to object.
All right. Then I'll move to file with no objection. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes, which brings us to the end of our docket this evening. Do we have individuals sign in for public comment? We do. Thank you very much. We have 3 individuals signed up for public comment this evening. Again, please come up. You have 5 minutes. Name and address for the record. First person signed in to speak is Kate Anderson Foley.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Kate Anderson Foley. I live at 1375 Beach Avenue. and I'm here representing the individual and collective voices of the Rockport Square community. The Rockport Square Development Project was conceived with the vision of revitalizing the east end of Lakewood, the gateway of our city. You could say that for the most part, it has been successful, attracting other visionary development like Studio West 117 neighborhood, Despina's Bakery, Southern Cafe, and other local businesses that have sprung up. When my husband and I relocated back to Ohio, we purposely chose Lakewood as it was walkable, urban, diverse, and full of potential. But what we did not sign up for was the lack of vision from the city with respect to the apartment complex that is next to our townhouses. The slumlord has stated to me personally that he is only in it for the money and that he does not care about the people who rent from him. In fact, when my husband and I talked to him after the fire, he appeared gleeful at the prospect of collecting insurance money and further disinvesting from the property. We have witnessed people move in and out every single month, and their belongings dumped on the tree lawn for where they sit for days and sometimes weeks. We have witnessed drug deals, domestic violence, multiple people piling into apartments under nefarious circumstances, and children being verbally abused. The Rockport Square community has engaged with the city, the council, the mayor's office, the ward officers, all with minimal success. Promises were made to increase the patrolling of our neighborhood and the apartments, building inspections and improvements, traffic calming strips, etc. Yet I stand here this evening with no tangible solutions that I can point to. Lakewood is known for being a welcoming city, but there's a difference between being welcoming and being complicit in perpetuating structural discrimination. Put another way, there has to be a long-term solution to the current situation with the apartments, so that I offer a few suggestions. 1, use eminent domain, defined as the power of local, state, or federal government agencies to take private property for public use so long as the government pays just compensation. So one of the possible uses could be a pocket park, community garden, anything. This East End deserves some type of healing investment. 2, purchase the land and develop it. The slumlord told me he does not want to pay taxes, so it may be in the city's best interest to negotiate with that client. 3, implement building inspections with teeth. Before the fire, the building's roof had tarp all over it, caved in for months. The tenants that I've spoken to, as other parts of the community as well, said the plumbing doesn't work, water leaks from floor to floor, bugs, rodents, meth labs, prostitutions, and other nefarious activities. 4, install surveillance cameras. I was told that the city shifts the cameras to where the needs are. Well, there's a legitimate need at the apartment complex on Beach Parkway. 5, condemn the complex and raise it. Then invest and reinvest in a healthy development for our city. I worked in public sector at the highest levels for many, many years, so I know politics, and I know how it can become the de facto shield for inaction. I also know that it only takes a few people with aspiration and balanced reality to break through such fixed mindsets and envision a better and healthier solution. The Rockport Square community is ready to create a better tomorrow for the gateway of Lakewood. Are you?
Thank you. Next person signed in to speak is Tim Lush.
Good evening, Mr. President, Council, Mayor, and department heads. My name is Tim Lush, L-U-S-C-H, 1395 Beach Avenue. I just want to echo what Kate had pointed out. We moved to Ohio over 10 years ago, my wife and I, and we started out at the west end of Lakewood in the Castlewood Apartments, and then when Rockport opened up, Despite the up-and-coming nature of the east side of town, we wanted to not just live there in those townhouses, but be a part of something that could see growth, and we could be a part of the building of a community. And one of the things that we've had in Rockport townhouses is that community. A lot of our neighbors get together on a regular basis. We're active. We know each other. A lot of dog walkers out there. You don't legislate this. You don't plan it. You don't, put it on agenda. I mean, with all due respect, I understand what you're trying to do here, but that's not what you do when you build community. We're building community. And it's a lot harder when people out there are trying to undermine that. The apartment complex is a perfect example. This has been going on since we've been there. And the police have been back there. I laud our police department, and it's not can the police do more, it's what can you think differently about allowing the police to do? Because these people are back there, and there's children that live in these apartments, there's old people, and there's these ne'er-do-wells that just keep, doing what it is they do, which is drugs and theft and violence. And we see it. We're not hyperventilating about small things. These are real things that we see, and we see them because we're there. And if you don't see them, if you don't believe us, then you should come and get a tour. The other night, because I'm a light sleeper, and there's usually a lot of noise, but I can sleep through it, but 1 o'clock in the morning, a woman was walking by on her cell phone, on speaker phone, and she was making a drug deal, making arrangements of where to be so her dealer could drive, walk, show up, which is what they do. They used to park right by our place and then take off. But now they come up on bicycles, they walk, scooters. There's a level of comfort there that she had, okay? And when you have vigilance in a community and you have active law enforcement, you have a big sign that says not welcome here, these things, you don't have that level of comfort, okay? And this is routine. The up and down Beach, I hear it all the time. We get people that are ripping by, and we've addressed this before with Councilwoman Marks. We were supposed to have a study done, speed tables, what have you. I don't know what's come of that. Maybe it's in the works, I don't know. But people are ripping up and down Beach. One of the, one of the toddlers from the apartment buildings in question got loose. He was like 2.5, 3 years old. His 5-year-old brother went out to look for him. They're out wandering on Beach in the street, up and down. This was last summer, hanging out by the tracks. And my wife and I and another neighbor in Rockport, because there was no one else around, followed the kids, pulled one off the street just because they were going to get hit. And it was dusk, and people are going up and down Beach at all hours, at all speeds, and it's dangerous. The point, I think, is that we need a multi-pronged approach, okay? I know that the city does things. I know you guys are doing things. You all do your jobs. I'm asking you to do it better. And I'm asking you to come up with a plan that's multi-pronged, that it includes the building department and law enforcement and council. And, one of the headaches we had at Rockport was we had a drug house there, and the person has since died, overdosed, and a lot of problems with that house. We called the police numerous times. They always came. And I understand there's limits to what you can do with private property, but it doesn't mean you don't do anything. And as far as I know, the building department never, or the law director, I don't know, never declared it a nuisance or cited them or anything like that. And this went on for more than a couple of years, despite our complaints to that effect. So, and whether that's the best thing to be done, whether that's a plan, whatever, I don't know. I leave it to your better judgment. But doing nothing isn't. And the response that we got from dispatcher a couple times, I know personally I did, is that you're bothering us. Well, I'll just put it out there. We pay too much in taxes not to be able to bother you. So do something. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person signed to speak is Michael Foley.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michael Foley, and I guess I'm the closer on this subject. I reside at 1375 Beach Avenue, and a proud member of the City of Lakewood and the Rockport Square community. First of all, I want to thank and commend the Lakewood Fire Department and the other community fire departments that pitched in and battled the intense recent fire at the apartments at Beach Court Beach Parkway. They did really a fabulous job, and they saved lives and limited the damage. It really could have been a great disaster. I mean, it really was a bad fire, and it was so close to the rest of the townhouses, it could have been really bad. So thank you, Chief, and for all your people. There are many rumors of what caused that fire, and I really don't care, because the main concern is that if something is not done by the city and the citizens of the city to deal with this giant, dangerous eyesore to my community and our city, then the imminent danger and constant trouble created by the tenants and the landlords will continue, and someone's going to die. The owner of the majority of the property is well-known by all the departments in the city of Lakewood. He and his property are simply a pain in the neck. We are not elitists in the Rockport community, in our neighborhood, but our group of 80 or so pay hefty taxes, not only through Lakewood City tax, but real estate taxes, and are grateful for the services we receive. The owner of that property, for his entire complex of 4 buildings, pays less taxes than 1 unit in Rockport. His taxes does not even come close to covering his garbage bill. And if I could just take a minute to talk about that. The owner's business plan seems to be that he simply churns and burns the units. There seems to be an eviction every week, evidenced by the pile of garbage he puts out on the tree lawn of Beach Parkway. Every eviction he puts out unwrapped mattresses, even though he knows the rules, which generally necessitates a call from somebody in the community to Glenn over at Sanitation, who calls the guy, and meanwhile, it takes 2 or 3 weeks sometimes to get those picked up. The owner has no concern for the neighborhood or the city. He cares not who he's renting to, as long as they have the first and last month's rent. I think he actually writes the eviction notice with the admit notice. One current tenant has recently caused giant disturbances that the police have responded to, always in a timely manner and professional manner, but it's only a matter of time until someone gets hurt and I fear bullets fly. On July the 10th, a late fight disturbance broke out. The police were called, responded, cooled the situation, but within 15 minutes of leaving, a fight broke out. A guy severely injured. He was walking down the street shirtless, all bleeding. There was 2 kids under 5 in a locked car, witnessing the whole show. The police came again and arrested the culprit. That was a week, and it was quiet. Now tonight, I mean, I'm not out on my porch all the time, but at least 8 different people went in and out of that building. So we all know what that means. No, we don't have to kid ourselves about that. So we cannot allow this building that's tore down and it's full of asbestos, mold, other carcinogens and toxins to be rebuilt. It's simply ridiculous. The American Rescue Plan has great money available to the city of Lakewood, and it's time that they implore some of this money and simply take this building down. It's just, there's nobody, one woman lived there for 62 years. But besides that, they come and go just like a transit hotel. This is a developer's dream. And we know from what has happened to our system, what has happened with the tremendous work at Studio West 113th and other 2 property that, you know, the great things could be there. I know this is part of what continued excellent vision of Mayor George and everybody else in this room. And it's just time for the great city of Lakewood to do something about this property. I thank you all for your time and consideration.
Thank you. If anybody had any comments to offer, I just wanted to leave an opportunity to do that before we move into any announcements or anything to that effect. Councilman Bullock.
Sure, thanks. I appreciate the residents coming to speak tonight. I'm sorry to hear about the intensity of the problem. Didn't know about it. Happy to work with colleagues to address it, perhaps follow up afterwards. We do have tools on the books to address the pattern you're talking about, in addition to each incident being something that could face law enforcement or building code violations or fees from the refuse department for chronic misplacement of refuse. There's also something called a chronic nuisance ordinance, in which a demonstrated repeat pattern of problematic behavior that requires repeat city calls to a given address, or actually even within a certain geographic reach of a certain address, can qualify that property for fines and fees to recoup essentially the city's expenses. Because the goal, to your points, of city services is not to require excessive response to any one given address. It's to serve the community. And so when this has happened in the past, it's possible for the landlord to get a bill. So we have that on the books for more than 10 years. You know, one question that occurs to me is whether that might apply to the fact pattern that you're sharing tonight. So I'd be happy to work with my colleagues who are already, I'm sure, responding. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilwoman Marks.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming from Rockport to share your concerns. Of course, I know I've talked with you since I've been back on council numerous times, and the building department is aware of these issues, so, and police and fire, so everybody is aware, and I agree that something has to happen because you keep spinning your wheels, and I know Officer Winters is supposed to be making sure that he goes through the complex. And of course, he may not be going through the complex when something's happening. And as I mentioned, it's always important to call the police and get it registered, reported. And I know as much of a nuisance it is to call, we can then track those calls to find out what those nuisance calls are so we can take some action. And I know that the last time I talked to Chris Parmalee, he said that, I think it's by the end of last week or the end of this week, that they were supposed to make a decision about whether or not that landlord is going to be sent to the prosecutor's office because action was supposed to be taken. So I know it's been a nuisance for you for a long time. I'm glad you came here to speak up tonight. Maybe we can see about getting some traction on these issues. So thanks for speaking up. Keep calling me.
Thank you. Well said, Councilwoman. With that, we'll move to announcements. Any announcements from the administration? Director Barry.
Yeah, I have a fun one. Tomorrow night, short notice, but tomorrow night, H2O is holding their dunk tank fundraiser at around the corner from 5 p.m. until 8. So I invite all of you to come by.
Is there any directors or other important people being dunked?
Emmy and Amy are definitely going to be dunked. I might be. I don't like water, so I mean that. But
this increases the injury.
Depends on how many city council people show up.
Fair enough.
The more
Touché.
More likely.
That is Ward 1, but I could venture, I suppose. Councilwoman Marks.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment, just to put it on public record. I attended the second Lakewood Garden Walk that was held by residents in the city, and I'm so proud of those residents opening up their yards to show us the beautiful work that they do to keep Lakewood beautiful. It's really incredible. If you haven't done it, do it next year. I'm sure there'll be the third annual walk. But I just want to commend them. They did a great job.
Very good. Vice President Keppel.
Thank you. I don't know if you can see from there, but I have an extra polka dot on my dress tonight because I have my I voted sticker on. And so the polls are now open for the August 8th election. It's a critical election. You can go downtown to the Board of Elections. You can park for free, go in and out. My 19-year-old and I went today, got in and out in 10 minutes, made our voices heard, and this election could determine whether Ohioans get to have their voices heard on the Constitution in the future. So please make sure to vote, and you can do that now. If you haven't already requested your vote by mail, you can still do that also.
Thank you. Councilman Baker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just like to thank, I know we prospectively thanked them last time, but after the 4th of July parade, I know police, fire, and public works, and the rest of the city all doing a tremendous job, lots of overtime. And I just will say that, you know, as a resident, you don't always think about everything that goes into that, but just knowing some of the, you know, issues that have occurred in other communities like Highland Park in Illinois, that there is a lot of planning that our public safeties and public work forces do to make sure that we're all safe. And I'm just so thankful that you all do that, because I know that I can see that my kids are creating memories and other people are creating memories. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I did have it in my notes to thank police, fire, and public works in equal and important measure. So thank you for mentioning that, and also want to welcome officially Chief Fisher to his first council meeting as our chief. I've joked with you a bit, but we are really. I hope that doesn't overshadow how excited we are to have you as our police chief, one of Lakewood's own. So thank you for being here. Appreciate it, and welcome. Any further? Councilman Schachtner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to briefly recognize Director Gordon and Commissioner Parmalee and his staff lately have been very helpful with some resident concerns that they were able to resolve and allow me to be able to pass along the information and make me look like I know what I'm doing. So thank you very much.
Very good. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll move to adjourn. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. We are adjourned.